Hello. We want to welcome you to the show today, The Community Voice. My name is Shirley King, and I will be your host today. Today, we thought we would bring you a different type show. With so much negative comments made about our black men today, we thought we would give another version of it. We want to talk a little bit about being a positive, some of the positive things, and being a good black father. Today on the panel we have, to my left here, we have Pastor James Nash, and we have Mr. Rodney Oakley. And these are two men, one being a father married with 6 kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, and one being a single father who has raised his children. So we want to present to you today just a positive look at what does it take to be a good black father. And I would start with our single father here, Mr. Rodney Oakley, and I would have him tell his story. Give us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Oakley.
Well, my name is Rodney Oakley. I am a single dad at this point. I work at Hewlett Packard. I've been there for over 20 years. I also am an independent businessman. I own a video company called Black Keys Entertainment. And what we try to do is basically try to provide low-cost services for businesses and individuals who are trying to get out in the media world. I am a single parent. I have 2 kids. I have a daughter who's 20 right now and a son who's 18. Both are college bound. I've been a single parent since about 2006. I was married for about 15 years prior to that to my former wife, and because of circumstances, I was able to be fortunate and blessed enough to keep my kids during their high school years after our divorce. So being a single father these days is a difficult task, and and basically, getting a little nervous here.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
But so and that's basically how I began to be a single father, is through that divorce and spend a lot of time with my kids, and I've gotten them into college and basically just tried to lead them in the right direction with positive feedback as well as good information and leading by example.
That's good. That's good, because in today there's so much negative. That the fathers are not in the homes. Most of the time, what we hear about is single moms instead of dads. In the family. So it's good to hear that there are fathers that take part in their children's lives, and that are very much a part of their lives. And I don't want to forget Robin, who is sitting here with us. She's here with us today also, which is very much out in the community, doing all sorts of things. Great volunteer. So we thank you also for being here with us, Robin. Now, Pastor Nash, give us your ideas of what a good father would be.
Well, I'm certainly glad to be a part of this show, and certainly proud to be sitting beside this young man, because these are the men that really need to be highlighted in our community.
Exactly.
I'm a pastor. I've raised 6 kids, also grandkids and great-grandkids. I'm always looking for a way that we can put a positive spin on the men that are not incarcerated. Oftentimes we hear so much about all the black men being incarcerated. They all deadbeat dads. But when we have a positive young man like this will come on the show, not only come on the show, but in life, he's proven that men can be a positive role model for their children, no matter what the circumstances are. I think sometimes we have to understand that it's really not about us once we have kids. It's about the kids. We do all we can to get them to where they need to be.
Right.
In Proverbs, it talks about train up a child on the way he should go. When he's old, he would not depart from it. What that simply means, if the child wants to be a basketball player, you don't try to make a musician out of it. Right. So you have to follow in a direction all the time where the kid wants to be, and then you go that way. I got a question for you, Brother Ryan.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about when you hear people say there are no positive black fathers? What goes through your mind when you hear something like that?
Well, I think they're really kind of focusing on the wrong fathers oftentimes, and even those who they perceive to be bad fathers. I think that's even a wrong perception sometimes. I just think that people are used to stereotyping, especially young black men.
Right.
And oftentimes being stereotyped, young black men tend to, basically follow that stereotype because they feel like there's no other option.
Exactly.
You expect this
Exactly.
of me, so I might as well go ahead and do it
Right.
anyway. So when I hear that spin, it kind of gets me a little upset. And to me, again, it just says on the surface that you're not looking for any positive black men. So it's about what you look for, and once you find that, getting it and nurturing it and making sure it's something that you can add positive things to as opposed to negativity. So when I hear the negative stereotypes, it really just upsets me because that's really just a cheap way out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Robin, would you like to tune in here?
Yes, Mr. Oakley, I would like to ask you, as a single parent, not raising just a son, to take a daughter on, which is a challenge because females can be very challenging.
Yes, ma'am.
What would you give to the next father who's going to take his son and daughter on at that tender 15, 16 age?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing about raising a daughter at that age is you have to, again, first, teach spirituality. You first must lead by following God, first of all, and start with that foundation with a young lady. And by me being a young man, or a man in this case, I have some insight that I could share with my daughter. and a few things that I try to share with her is independence. Is you must be independent as a female, period, because you don't want to be dependent on any man if you don't have to be. And while you're out there looking for your helpmeets, that person should add value to your life. You should not be adding all the value. That person should add some value to your life.
Good point.
And with a young lady, I'd be naive to think that there aren't things that she's going to experience or run into in life. And basically what I suggest to any father out there that's raising a daughter is you just really be patient and just, talk to your daughter. And don't shield her from harm. Just prepare her for harm.
Right. It's good.
Amen. And Pastor, I know that from your point of view, you said train them up. You want to get them into church. You want to get them involved in church. And I see some. I look at the parents that are out there who are not. You are not just telling the parents to get the children in church. You're asking them to share that experience with them, aren't you?
Right.
You're telling them to get involved also, because I've got to believe that for the things that have happened with you and with both of you and your kids, that you all shared it with them. You didn't just push them out there by themselves and not share it with them. So can you give us just a little bit of insight on talking to the parents and telling them that you need to share with your children, not just put them out there and say, do this, but join in and do this. You got to be a full part of their lives.
I think the important thing, and I think Brother Rodney will agree, you have to interact with your kids. You got to spend quality time with your kids.
Exactly.
Sometimes when we get in a hurry and we so busy doing our own thing, sometimes the kid want to talk to you, and too often they're brushed aside. We got to remember, these are little people that they're people and they have issues to deal with too. A lot of peer pressure. So I would say that one of the things the parents should do is interact, especially a father. Sometimes pastors have to take on the job of being a father because the young men in the church are really looking for a positive, I don't like to say role model, because at some point or another, I really think a father should be the role model that his son looks for if he has to have a role model. Charles Barkley made a statement one time, I don't know, Brother Rodney, if you're familiar with that. He said, I'm not a role model.
Yes, sir.
Because some of the things I do.
Right.
In other words, he's saying that the father should be the role model.
Absolutely.
If a kid
Exactly.
said, "Who's your role model?" Well, my dad is my role model.
Right.
But we have to be living. We have to be doing the things that the child can say that about.
Right.
It is not. I don't think it's right for a child to have a father and pick somebody else, a basketball
role
athlete
model.
or whatever, to be their role model.
That's right.
Exactly.
So it has to
Exactly.
be some quality time, and believe it or not, Brother Rodney, believe it, panel, I spend a lot of time, Sister King, she can tell you that I spend a lot of time with our young people, especially young men. I commend them when they do something. I'm always trying to encourage them, because believe it or not, sometimes they don't get that everywhere.
No, they don't.
And when they come to the church, they're looking at a father figure sometimes. So we have to take some of our time and give it to them in trying to get them encouraged.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know, but Rod, I'm just like that.
Yes,
I'm so
sir.
proud to be with
That's
you.
a good way to
because
be.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
We should all strive to be that way.
This telecast here today is going to mean a lot, because somebody is out there viewing this and see a young man.
Amen.
He's a father of not only a young man but a daughter. And I know it's sometimes you have to cut between
Yes, sir.
the chase
Yeah,
in
yeah.
order to deal with the young lady compared to what you do with the young boy.
Right.
Tell us about that. If you
Yeah,
would.
well, it's not an easy task. I tell you, and I often tell my daughter, it's a guy raising a son and raising a daughter. They're just two totally different things. You can't do them the same, because there's different
Exactly. Exactly.
obstacles for each. So, again, in the spirit of just really, like you're saying, being involved in your child's life and being there for them to talk if they need to talk, and really understanding where their mind is. I'll tell you one mistake I almost made earlier on in my daughter's life is I would really put a lot of rails around what it is she wanted to do, and I tried to guide a
We do
lot
that
of
with daughters.
her direction and what I wanted to do. But I found is, she takes a lot of her direction or her spirit from a dad, which means that she knows where she wants to go
Right,
in her life.
right.
So after I, kind of saw that she had her own direction and that she wanted to achieve, in a manner that was satisfying to her, because it's something that she did as opposed to
Exactly.
something that my father made me do. I immediately recognized, okay, I just need to let her walk her walk, and I just need to. And my advice and my guidance to her would just be those words of encouragement, those words to help her, guide her along her own path. So.
That is so good, because the kids nowadays, they need that. They need that backing. They need that encouragement. We look at our church, and Pastor can tell you, a lot of kids, and we think, why is this kid doing what he's doing? They're craving for something, and they're craving for acceptance not from their peers, but maybe from their parents.
Right.
If the parents get involved with it, I hear him say all the time, the parents need to go to the school, get involved in in what's going on with their children, and for a father to be by himself and to get involved in that makes it even better. Girls really do work to please their dads.
Yes, they do.
They
Yes,
really
they
do.
Yes, they do.
I've noticed that the girls they really work to please their dads, and when they know that they're doing things to please their dads, they're more apt to do what's right, and they need to be rewarded
Right.
when they're doing good. They need to be rewarded.
And funny you should say that. And I want to say this because this is a part of what I use with my children. Oftentimes we punish our children when they do bad. They get spankings, punishments, timeouts, you name it. But when those times when they're always doing good, they bring home the good grades, they're not misbehaving, they're not doing the things, and in fact probably doing some of the things that they've been instructed to, oftentimes we fail to reward that.
Amen to that.
Exactly.
We fail to
Amen
reward
to
it. We
that,
will immediately
Right.
impose a punishment,
Right.
but we're really slow to impose
To
reward.
give a
for
Right.
reward.
behavior.
I agree with that.
So I use a lot of reward with good behavior. I also use a lot of good behavior as credit towards other things. I insist on honesty.
Exactly.
You must be honest. I would rather you tell me the honest
Right.
truth,
Exactly.
and we deal with it as opposed to finding out later.
Right.
Because then you ruin a factor of trust. there.
Exactly.
So as I explain to my kids, I'm not going to kill you. You're my children. So it's nothing you can do that would separate me from you.
Right.
So you should not be afraid to speak to me about anything. So when you share those things, we can work through it together. We can correct those errors.
Exactly.
And at the same time, I know you're honest, and when things happen, I can trust and believe that those things happen. And so when things are good in your life, in those big gaps, when that thing comes up,